Okay, my good God. Okay, so like almost all of my other reviews, I spent 3.5 hours yesterday trying to do a really, really good, very in-depth review. That overall, the entire video probably would have been like 42 minutes, would have been too long. So kind of glad that, I got to throw it all out in a small sense. But yeah, it didn't go... There was some audio issues, not the mic's problem, my problem. I forgot to hit record on this stupid thing. And so, yeah, I have to start this all over again. But good thing is, now I should have all my shit together, and I should have all my thoughts collected and should be good to go. So, yeah, now that I've thoroughly reviewed this thing, let's try recording this a second time. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome to the channel. I have a new microphone system to review for you guys, and it is what I'm wearing right now. It's not the shotgun mic. Shotgun mic is put away. Nothing going through that. So I have the XVIVE U5. I believe that's what it's called. I believe that's the name. Yep, it says it on all of it, so that's the name. I have previously, if you guys remember, reviewed this, which is actually two things. A kind of a handheld wireless mic system, and this was a product that was sent to me for review before by the same company, and this was the, what was it? The U3. This is the U3. And I was pleasantly surprised, so when they contacted me, said, hey, we have a wireless lavalier kit, would you like to review it? And at the time when they emailed me, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do something like that, considering on this channel, I don't really do a lot of like lavs or film related stuff, even though that is kind of what the channel started out. Right now, it's mostly just focused on voiceover. All right, so there are a couple things that I do want to note that it does come with. One thing that I do like is this little like pouch, this pleather pouch. Which at first it didn't look like it would hold all the stuff because it's got two transmitters, two mics. They come in these little bags. This little cable right here, which is actually bendy. I like that. And then so if I can get this without messing with it, the transmitter, which I will show off a little bit more in just a second. And yeah, all of this actually fits in here pretty nicely. So that was nice. It's not padded or cushioned or anything, so don't expect to like put it in this and then throw it in your bag and everything be fine. You're still going to want to be careful with it. But it is nice that you can all keep it together. It comes with two cables, one that splits into two that are intended to charge both of the, I got one in my pocket, both of the transmitters, and then one for the receiver. However, you could do it, one transmitter and then the receiver and transmitter, whatever. It has enough cable for enough ports. That's what I'm saying. Points to XVIVE for their communication with me, because I was actually confused by this. I thought I had read somewhere. I haven't been able to find it again, so it's probably just my Lex Dixia getting in the way. I had thought that the batteries for these only had 2.5 hours of battery life. And looking at the size, I was like, yeah, it's probably believable. But then I was like, why 2.5 hours? That's nothing. You can't use it on a set. You could barely use it doing interviews or anything like that. But then, they contacted me. It was like, any questions so far? And I was like, yeah, is it 2.5 hours? And they were like, no, it's supposed to be 5. And so I went ahead and I did a check. I plugged this up to my mixer, which it is plugged up right now. And then I put it in Audacity, and I left all of these fully charged and left them running for the entire day until they just died on me. And so then I would see the waveform, and then all of a sudden the waveform would just be dead. Both transmitters were still basically good, still basically had a third or a fourth of a charge left. But the receiver died at 6 hours and 48 minutes. So definitely can get 5 hours out of these things, which is good. Because one of my major concerns for doing any kind of recording, whether you're doing documentaries, film, YouTube videos, you want more than just a couple hours of battery life, especially if you're doing film, which I'm not quite convinced that this kit is ideal for doing film work of a certain budget, low to no budget, independent film stuff, comedy sketches, YouTube videos. I would definitely say that the quality of this is up to par. I would definitely say that. But even doing something like that, you want more than just 2.5 hours. So the fact that they can get at least 5, because the usual average film shoot is anywhere between 8 and 12 hours. So if you could at least get from when y'all started to lunch break, or whatever the first break is, and then you can charge these, because I think it only took me about an hour, hour and a half to charge them. If you can at least get up to that point and then charge them, to last the rest of the day, you're pretty much good. This is kind of a combination when it comes to battery. It's kind of a combination between G6s and some of like the Sonys, some of the high-end Sonys, because there are a whole bunch that are rechargeable, through their port, but they have built-in batteries. So they're rechargeable and they have a long battery life, but you can't replace the battery. And then there are ones that you can replace the battery, but you have to charge the battery somewhere else. Well, this is kind of a combination of the two. If all you can do is charge them via here, you got that covered. If you can buy the kit and then charge more batteries, you can also do that too, and then just replace the batteries by taking them out of the bottom. So that is a big plus. That is, when you have a variety of methods to recharge, you can also literally just carry those little like battery bricks or charging bricks, and then just, when the actor is just walking around, put that in their pocket, and then just remember to take that out before they start shooting, so it can also be charging as well. And that's great. That is something that I really, really do love. And by the way, the entire time you've just been listening to the mic, so the entire time has been an audio test, which I don't have to do. You're listening to it. It's not the best sounding microphone. I have used worse sounding microphones though. Let me make that totally clear. I've used way worse sounding mics, including on film sets, kits that have been sent to me. A couple things I like is the length. It's pretty good. It's pretty good length. You'd be surprised how many people get that wrong. The quality, it doesn't feel cheap plastic. I can definitely see that over the years this will start to break because it is a plastic. It's just not a cheap plastic, that this will start to chip and break. That's just going to happen with every single lavalier that you have. I really like the Gorilla Clip that it comes with, even though I don't use these on set. I absolutely appall these because you can't hide them. You literally just take the mic out and then you just tape it somewhere on the body. But if you were doing things like interviews or even a podcast or a live show, a documentary, you'd be using these a lot, because it's easy to just put this on a person's shirt, and then just put the kit in their pocket, kind of like what I'm doing. Another thing that I really, really love is this. See that? It's that little screw-on thing. I love these. That you'd have no idea how awesome it is to tie or to firmly connect your lavalier to the transmitter. You have no idea how annoying it is that when an actor just does this and it just pops right out and you're like, ugh! You gotta go in and you gotta tape the whole thing. I've had to do that. It's insane. But I absolutely love that. I know it's a minor thing and some people may not think that it's a big deal, but for me, this is a huge deal. And I do love that. Let's talk about a couple of the features on here. There's not really that much on this, which is good. I'm going to see if I can turn this on without causing too much of a problem. There we go. Change the channel on the receiver, so it's a different channel to hear, so you're not hearing this. But one thing I do want to do, that is one of the gripes that I have, is that when this thing is on, from the wireless signal that it's sending out, it is interfering with the lav. Now, even though that is happening, and it is kind of loud, I will say this, that is not unique to this system. That is not unique to this particular kit. So many lavs out there, so many wireless systems have that problem. It's not new. It's hard to isolate or insulate a small microphone like that because you can't put any kind of shielding around that. So a couple things I do like, it has a hold button. I don't know if you can see that. We'll hold. So now I can't press any of the buttons and it doesn't change anything. Or I can press the buttons, but it doesn't change anything. So that is nice. So you can turn that on, put that in your the actor's pocket, and they're not going to bump any of these buttons because these buttons are easy to get to. They're kind of indented, but again, it's still easy to press them. So we have the mute button, which is nice. So when your actor or whoever it is that, is mic'd up, they need to go to the restroom, they can just mute, and then the audio is off. And then you have volume button, which it only goes down by to -6. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going up. So it goes to 0, and I think you can go up. Yeah, you can go higher, which I don't know why you'd go higher. These mics are pretty hot. They come in with a pretty high signal, but you can go down to -6, and I think that's the max. Yeah, -6 dB on these guys. And then you can change the channel with the channel button. There you go. All right, so it goes down -6, which is totally fine because it gives you, at least you have something, you have some level of control. But you have way more control on this guy. Obviously, I can get this without taking the plug out. You have way more control on this guy. Even though there's not a lot of buttons and features, what you do have, you have a lot of range. So, is that the one? Okay, that's the one that's not doing anything. So you can go down to -dB on the transmitter, but you can go down to -54 on the receiver. Oop. What's happening? Oh, it's because it's in mono. Oh, that's why. Well, I guess we won't be messing with that. But yeah, you can do stereo, mono. There's a switch on the top. These are dials. I don't know. These are buttons? They sound like buttons, but I haven't found out what these do. This is going to... Can I hold it? Nothing happens. All right. Then obviously you can mute these. And then you can change the channel here. All good. And then at the bottom, we have another battery pack. It's the exact same battery. This panel just comes off, and the battery just comes up. Obviously not going to do that because we're recording right now. I actually used to be of the belief that having a single, and I still kind of am, having a single receiver is a bad idea when you have two transmitters. Because I'm just used to the old-fashioned where you got one receiver, one transmitter. And there's a part of me that still kind of prefers the 1-in-1, but there are benefits to having the 2-in-1. If you've ever seen a audio engineer, their bag, their big kit, they got the recorder, the field recorder, like something like this. They have normally a whole bunch of receivers. Like let's say you had 2 of these kinds of systems and you had 4 transmitters, but you only have 2 receivers. That's not that much to have to keep, track of. It's actually way more convenient on that level. The fact that there's less that you have to worry about. Also, these are incredibly tiny. I mean, the receiver and transmitter are essentially the same size. I think they are the same size. I think they're almost... I think the receiver is actually a little bit thinner. The width is the same, though. But yeah, like, that's small, and it doesn't really weigh anything. Less stuff that you have to keep track of. There's a huge convenience there. The con, though, the downside, is the fact that this thing, half of this tiny device, half of this is dedicated to one transmitter. Half of this is in charge of that channel, that antenna, the power going to that, the monitoring, half of this. So you're essentially, you're essentially dividing one device in half. So there's less, I would assume less efficiency and less power and less control in that one device, considering it's having to divide and conquer. So there are kind of these pros and cons. I think for anyone starting out in this kind of thing, someone who's, not wanting to make a full-on kit and not wanting to make this a huge profession, getting something that's probably smaller and is a little bit easier to keep track of, fewer things, involved, would be a whole lot better. A stereo, a dual channel stereo kit like this one is probably a whole lot better for starting out. As you go on, you're probably going to want something that, is a little bit more robust, and those are often, one receiver, one transmitter, or it's a huge brick with giant antennas for like 4 transmitters. But when you're just starting out, something like this is probably going to be really, really good. So this device is probably intended most for DSLR use, where you're probably going to be just attaching it to the top of the camera, to like the hot shoe or cold shoe mount. I think they're the same thing. And basically kind of doing a run and gun, and then using a very short cable like this to go into the camera. And this would also do stereo or mono, what have you. You can use a cable like I'm doing, which goes, stereo 3.5 millimeter into the device, and then goes down and splits into 2 XLR cables. And then you can actually put one XLR, in one channel, one XLR in the other channel, and split them stereo, and thus getting 2 separate channels. That's how that's intended to be used. Before, it was kind of, a complicated system for me to like really understand what the benefit of having those would be. And because right now it's in mono, and mono means that both mics, if they were both on, would be put into one channel. Even if I have 2 XLRs going to 2 different channels, both channels would have the exact same audio. It'd sound exactly the same. But doing it this way, you can actually split the 2 microphones and the 2 transmitters into their own channel. Now, I am actually going to do a final audio test before I finish out this review and give you my final thoughts with this guy right here. All synced up. One of my fears is that, turn that down a little bit. Okay, so one of my fears is that when it comes to trying to transmit the signal through the airwaves from one device to another wirelessly, is that you may end up with some signal loss, quality loss, some bit crushing, that kind of stuff. And when you have so many factors, going on, so many things going on, like, things, Bluetooth or wireless signal interference, distance, it's hard to know how good the quality of a microphone actually is. So by doing it this way, where it's just going right into a recording device, and we're going to do a little bit side by side, and I'm going to do some silence, so you can actually hear how much of a difference there actually is between the wireless versus the microphone itself. Just to showcase the quality of the mic, because it is a big deal. Because a lot of wireless kits, a lot of wireless systems often don't really, present their best microphone with the kit. It's kind of like their stock microphone. The mic that just they have the most of, that they're just going to include for free. A lot of times they don't normally include the best quality. You got to go and buy that one separately, which is fine, which is totally fine, because that gives you a little bit of, you at least have something that the kit comes with that you can use out of the box, and then later on, as you go on, you can upgrade. But you still want to make sure that the microphone that you have is at least decent. Preferably you want something that's great, but it's at least decent. So I'm going to do a little bit of silence, and we're going to switch between the two, do a little bit of silence. All right, and there you go. A little comparison side by side. Hope you're wearing earphones so you can actually hear how much noise, if any, is being introduced more, in the transmitter versus the Zoom H6. To just kind of give you an idea. My overall thoughts for this system is, I would say for I think it's like $360 to $400, which, if you think about it in the fact that you're getting 2 transmitters, it's essentially, $200 per transmitter, microphone, and half a receiver, which when you think about it in those terms, I would definitely say that this is worth it. Totally worth it. I don't know how many opportunities I'm actually going to have to use something like this as of yet, so I don't know, how many more reviews or how much more experience I'm actually going to get with this kit and actually run it through its paces. I think that the fact that its battery life surprised me. Was really, really good. It's small, portable, convenient. It's the size of a pager, for those who still remember what those are. The clip is nice, which you can remove. You can remove with a little star Allen wrench, so if you wanted to take that off, totally fine. Do the same thing with the hot shoe, cold shoe mount on the bottom of that. So, modular. Threaded lavalier mic port. Huge plus. Bright LED screen. Easy to use buttons. I didn't even read the manual, and I totally understood everything about this thing. So, also a plus. And as if you guys heard the quality this entire video, have not been using the shotgun mic or any other mic, what do you think? What do you think? I'm going to leave that on you. But yeah, if you guys liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. But you have to say why. If you give a thumbs down, you have to say why. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Yeah, link to the device is in the description. I'd like to thank XVIVE for contacting me. It's actually a surprisingly good device that I think I'm going to enjoy using. And I say that because, again, I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to have to use it. Not like I'm going to just be walking around the house with just a mic on, just like, yeah, how's it going? But yeah, totally worth the money. Surprised with how long the battery life is and the quality. And yeah, it's going to be it. So leave any comments down below if you'd like to ask any questions. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.